Hey, you guys. Good morning, good afternoon. How are you? Happy Saturday on Mother's Day Eve. Hang on just 1 second, really quickly. Okay. Oh, good to see everybody. Let me say hi. Oh my goodness, already. Thank you, Kate from the Land Down Under, who is wishing all mama bears out there a happy Mother's Day, including fur mamas. Absolutely. Happy Mama's Day, happy Mother's Day to all the mamas, whether it is mamas of two-legged children, four-legged children, whatever it is, you're a mama, and tomorrow is for you. Hell, make the whole weekend for you. That's what I would do. All right, so let me say hi to you guys really quick, and thank you very much, Kate. I appreciate that very, very much. All right, let's see. Hello, Matt. Hello, Petunia. Hello, Nadine, my boo. Claudia, Kathy, R. Hey, preschool granny. Hello, Kate. Let's see. Teacup Kraken. Lil Red. Lil Red will be lurking on the road. Drive safely. Hello, Mia. Good to see you. Let's see. Cement shoes. Hey. And hello, Susan. I think I said hi to Claudia, but I'm not sure if I didn't. Hi, Claudia. Oh, Claudia is coming to us from the future. How's your Mother's Day looking over there? And Sunday. All right. So last night, we went over Tammy Daybell's sister, Samantha, her husband, Jason Williams' testimony. Okay. And I wanted to do an afternoon live because I haven't done one of those in a while, but I really wanted to, and I'm glad I did this because I listened all the way through to Samantha, which is, Tammy Daybell's sister. I listened to her testimony all the way through. And I'm glad that I did do like a separate because her testimony is super important. And it is, all in all, it is 53 minutes, 33 seconds. That is with cross included. So we are going to listen to that. I will make some commentary. I have a lot to say about this. I thought First and foremost, let me just say this and get it out of the way because this is important. I thought that Samantha did a fantastic job testifying. You could tell that she was nervous to be there. I'm sure it was very difficult for her to be sitting so closely to Chad. And, I know that was hard, but she was brave and she did what she needed to do and said what she needed to say. And I think her testimony was impactful, and I think it will leave an impact and an impression on the jury. And so I think she did a fantastic job. She was very, very believable. Hi, Cassie. Good to see you, babe. Just listening for now. All right. Just listen for now. All right. So I'm going to add it to the stream. Going to turn the closed caption on. Going to speed it up just a scotch, just because. And we will get started. All right. Here we go. All
right. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Witness, again, no exclusionary order applying here. So, Ms. Blake, if you'd like to inquire on direct, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you please state your name for the record and spell it?
My name is Samantha Gwilliam, SAMANTHA GWILLIAM.
Miss William.
Hold on. I forgot to say hello to Language of Horses. Hey, good to see you. Sorry about that. I did not mean to not acknowledge you. Hello. I just got distracted with getting this testimony up there. Sorry, I can only do one thing at a time. I'm not that talented. All right. Let's finish. Let's get started. Not finish, but let's get started. Okay.
Are you related to Tammy Daybell?
Yes, I am.
How are you related to her?
She's my sister.
And do you know Chad Daybell?
Yes, I do.
How did you know him?
He was married to her.
Miss William, do you recall sometime around the end of 2019 being contacted by law enforcement in relation to a pet cemetery?
Yes.
Had you been to Tammy's house in Idaho?
Yes, I had.
How many locations did she live at in Idaho?
Just the one.
Had you seen the property?
Yes, I had.
Your Honor, we had previously stipulated to some photos that were taken of the Daybell property, and I have what's been marked as State's Exhibit 23A and also State's Exhibit 23F. I have a copy for counsel, one for the record, and a courtesy copy for Your Honor of each of those.
All right, I'll take a look.
And if the witness may be shown one of each.
I ended up with two 23Fs. I think the witness.
I have the same.
Yeah, let's try to sort these out.
23A and
23. You may.
Do you recognize, let me back up. Are you aware whether or not Tammy had a pet cemetery?
She did.
Can you tell from this picture approximately where it would have been located?
There's two posts in the center of the picture. You can kind of see a tiny little black head of a dog statue. To the right of it in the picture is the fire pit. And then to the left, further along the edge of the picture is the red barn.
And Your Honor, may I publish State's Exhibit 23F?
Yes.
And is that a closer view without the red barn in the picture?
Correct. And the fire pit is just to the right.
And where approximately was the pet cemetery located?
It was right there by where the dog was at. My niece's dog had passed away, so they buried it there along with a cat that had been hit out on the highway, and I believe a duck as well.
Was it common for Tammy to have a pet cemetery?
Absolutely. We've had pets in our family for years, and they become like family. And when they pass away, we would bury them on our properties so that they were nearby us.
And did you know if Tammy continued to have pets into her adult life?
Absolutely.
Your Honor, I have what's been marked as State's Exhibit 298 now. Again, I have a copy for council, a courtesy copy for your honor, and a copy as the exhibit. Or proposed exhibit. May I have the witness shown a copy?
Yes, you may.
Ms. William, do you recognize who's in this photo?
Yes, I do.
Do you know approximately when this photo was taken?
In 2015-ish, it was a family picture. One of our neighbors took family pictures of the Daybells.
Does this appear to be a close-up from one of the family photos?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I would move for admission of State's Exhibit 298.
No objection.
Very well. Exhibit 298 is admitted.
Permission to publish, please.
You may publish.
And again, Ms. William, who are we seeing here?
This is my sister, Tammy Daybell.
How many siblings do you and Tammy have?
There's 5 of us all together. I have 3 brothers, and Tammy was my only sister.
Where did Tammy fit in the line?
She was the second oldest.
So the two of you were the only girls?
Yeah.
Were you close growing up?
Yes, there's 4 years between us, so close enough that there was maybe minor squabbles, but we were more best friends.
Did you maintain that closeness into adulthood?
Yeah, we did. We saw each other, talked almost every day.
Do you recall when Tammy started dating Chad?
Yeah, I do.
Had you known Chad prior to them dating?
I didn't know him personally. I knew of him and his family. He had some brothers that I went to school with because I was younger.
Did you like Chad?
Yes, I did.
How did you feel he treated Tammy initially?
He was a good husband and father.
Now, something that I noticed is a word that she left out, which I think is interesting, and I do think that it was intentional. She left out the word provider, and I think she left that word out intentionally because Chad was not a good provider. It was Tammy who did the working and maintained a steady job with a steady income and benefits, etc. And she's up there telling the truth. And I think that it is just as important what people do say on the stand as it is what they don't say. And Chad was not known to be a good provider. And I noticed that immediately, and I'm curious. I know that ICT Cup Kraken noticed it too. Bingo. But I wonder, if the jury is going to notice that as well. You will also take a look here in this vicinity as Chad is giving us the statue again for this testimony. And if I'm not mistaken, he gives this throughout, which is, I don't want any of the words from the closed captions going over Tammy's face. So I moved the closed captions because Chad's not going to do anything. And so there's really no point in, focusing on him. So let's continue.
After Tammy was married, did you maintain contact with her?
Yes, we did.
Did Chad ultimately end up becoming friends with your husband?
Yes, he did.
And was their relationship close?
Yes, it was.
Prior to Tammy moving to Idaho, how close did the two of you live together? Live by each other?
We lived in the same neighborhood at one time across the street. And then as we kept purchasing homes in the same neighborhood, it was just, around the block and then 2 blocks.
How often did you see Tammy prior to her moving?
We saw each other almost every day.
And was that when you both lived in Springville?
Yes,
How many kids do Tammy and Chad have?
they have 5.
Did they have grandkids?
Yes.
Do you know, or were you aware if Tammy wanted to move to Idaho?
At the beginning, I do not believe she wanted to.
Prior to moving to Idaho, did Tammy work somewhere?
Yes, she worked at Springville High School as the special ed secretary.
And before that, had she worked somewhere else?
Yes, she worked at Art City Elementary. She was their computer technician, and she taught computer classes to all the students.
So both of those positions, she worked with children?
Yes.
And you talked about her working with computers. Was there something interesting about Tammy and computers?
Yeah, she was very talented with those. She wasn't officially trained at a college or anything, but she just could figure them out. There'd be a new program that would come out and she would learn it, and we would all ask her questions about how to use it.
When Chad and Tammy, well, actually, when Chad and Tammy moved to Idaho, did Chad talk to you about potentially moving up there as well?
Yes, he said he had a vision that they should move up there.
And did he also want you to move up there?
Yes, he did.
Were you willing to do that?
We thought about it because I didn't want to be separated from my sister.
At some point, did you see an email in relation to Chad's views on why you wouldn't move up there?
Yeah, I did. I read an email that he sent that said that I had evil spirits that were keeping me from coming to Idaho to see that I should be up there. And it made me very unhappy.
When Tammy and Chad first got married, do you know what Chad did for a living?
He was going to school when they first got married, and he was also working at the Springville Parks Department on their cemetery crew.
Do you know, as part of his employment, if he was involved in digging graves?
Yes, he was.
At some point, did Chad hold a different position with the cemetery?
Yes, he was eventually the sexton there.
How did you find out about your sister passing away?
I received a phone call from Chad that morning.
What did he tell you?
He told me that she was really sick and had had a coughing fit and was in the bathroom throwing up around midnight, 1 o'clock. And then that morning, he woke up when she had fallen out of bed.
Were you surprised by this information?
Absolutely surprised.
Did it make any sense to you?
No, I had just seen her 2 weeks prior to that and I had no idea that she was so sick that something like that would happen.
When you saw her 2 weeks earlier, how did she appear?
She looked perfectly healthy.
Okay, now we have, how many witnesses does this make, you guys, that have heard this story, that Chad was awoken by Tammy falling off the bed? And that's, we know why he said it. Okay, there's a bruise. And we know that, without going too much into it, from the medical examiner who performed the autopsy on Tammy and the medical examiner who performed the autopsies on, or the pathologists who performed the autopsies on Tammy, and then the one that performed the autopsies for JJ and Tylee, we know how they differentiate between a postmortem bruise, because that can happen, and a bruise that happened prior to death. I think that's what, antemortem. Okay. And the way they do that is they make an incision into the bruise, and they look at the subcutaneous tissue around the area, and they look for hemorrhaging. So, excuse me, hold on. Sorry, got a little choked up there. Anyway, so we think, we can't obviously know for certain with 100% certainty, because it's very difficult to know what's going on in somebody's brain. Even if they write it out, just because they write something doesn't mean that's the entirety of their thoughts, right? Okay. So obviously that goes without saying, but I think that it is reasonable to believe that the reason for this cover story, particularly when it's also confusing because of Garth, when he called 911, he said she was on the ground frozen. And then, of course, the coroner testified that when she arrived, Tammy was back in the bed, kind of, laying like diagonally with her feet off of the bed. And that, and when, so when Garth said frozen, as soon as the heart stops beating, right, and a person goes into cardiac arrest, if there is no medical intervention, okay, then the body is going to do what the body is going to do, and it starts to go into the process of decomp immediately. And there's a lot of things that the body does. And, there's factors in there that can change slightly. Obviously, it depends on where the person died, inside, outside, if it's outside the time of year, yada, 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 whatever. But for him to be calling at 6 o'clock in the morning, 911, right? Isn't that what time it was? I believe that it was at 6 o'clock in the morning. To say that she had been frozen, that she was frozen implies that she had been not, that she'd passed away hours prior. So how could Chad have been woken up by her falling off of the bed? Even if we take it as, some sort of weird, convoluted, in the moment, they didn't get there was a crisis, right? And we'll extend that crisis out 72 hours because, people grieve and, you're in shock. And sometimes you don't see things and remember things accurately. Okay. So let's say Chad is upstairs and he hears Tammy fall on the floor. Well, when did he rush to find her? Because that makes no sense in the timeline because she was cold already. And I don't know another way to say this, but the fact of the matter is that it would be very difficult for someone who was no longer living to fall off of a bed without help, right? Just spontaneously fall off of a bed. That would be difficult. So already, I don't think that Garth is the one not being honest. I think when he called 911, he said the truth. I think that it's Chad that's not being honest. Obviously, Chad's the one that has something to lose. And I also, Lil Red, wonder exactly how long she was deceased before, Garth found her and called 911. So we know it was for a while because she was cold. So, I mean, when your heart is no longer pumping, your body starts to cool I'm saying with no medical intervention. And hey to Corky, hey to Crime Crochet and Coffee, and hello to CEO Legendary. So, good. Well, not really good morning. I guess it depends on where y'all are. Happy Saturday. How about that? That should cover it. All right. So let's see what else Samantha has to say. And she's going to go into the last visit that she had with Tammy, which was about 2 weeks prior to her death, which was October 19th. So we're talking, beginning of October, and how she looked and all of that. So here we go.
Tammy had about, and this has been a few years ago, when she was getting her depression under control, that she struggled with her health a little bit. But after that, she made a concerted effort, to get on the right medication. And we had a Facebook group between her and I and my sister-in-law and another friend where we would check in, just, keep each other accountable on staying healthy. So because of the struggle she had with that and us trying to keep each other accountable, that whenever I did see Tammy, I would do just a visual check. Not that I was, just like I would do with my own children when I see them, like any mom would. Are you okay? What did, visual checks. She looked great.
Did you end up learning if she was participating in any activities?
Yeah, she was taking a clogging class. She was doing Zumba and she was prepping to run a 5K.
And outside of just her physical appearance, how did she seem mentally?
She was really happy. We had a great visit.
Do you recall her also performing some kind of a routine?
Yes, it was her and I and my parents were visiting at their house, and we did a mini talent show as middle-aged women for our parents. She did her clogging, and I showed them some of my stage combat because I was currently doing theater classes.
And as you were watching her perform the routine, did she seem short of breath?
No,
Any indication she was having any medical issues?
no. The only thing that she had complained about was her wrist. She had had some injury with it, and she was taking medication. The doctor had prescribed her for it. And then my mom commented that it had been something that she had been on previously too.
And how old was Tammy?
49, the same age that I am right now.
Did Tammy end up talking to you during her visit about you moving to Idaho?
She did. She wanted me to move up
Judge, I'm
there.
going to object to calls for hearsay.
Sustained.
And Your Honor, if I may,
Just ask another question, please, Ms. Blake.
did Tammy appear to be making plans for the future?
Yes, she did. She wanted me to move.
Judge, I'm going to object to calls for hearsay.
Overruled.
She wanted me to apply for a theater teaching job in Idaho so that I could be close by her. We had always made plans to live by each other as we got older. And when she moved away, we were still trying to figure out ways to make that happen. That was our joke, that we would be old ladies together, I mean, side by side.
Okay, you know I have to pause for commentary, and I'm assuming that's what you guys are here for, right? Is for my commentary. So I want to address Caroline's comment, who says, I totally agree. Also, in my opinion, Garth is Chad's scapegoat, maybe. See, I agree with this. I don't know about scapegoat, but I think that part of the plan was for Garth, because he was the one home at the time. And make no mistake, when I say that, okay, I think it was the plan for whichever child happened to be in the home at that time, whichever one of Chad's children, if any of them, whichever one, all of them had been there, they would be part of this as well. I don't think Chad gave a rat's fat kneecap. He didn't consider what that might do to them, how that might make, to see their mother like that. He didn't give a crap. He didn't. He needed somebody else to discover her body. He needed somebody else to be a witness. And that's what he did, not giving a care at all. Like it is what he's just smarmy like that. I don't know another thing to say about it. He's just gross. Also, I don't have a lot of sisters. I only have one sister, and my sister and I have joked so many times about she and I being old ladies together. And there's so many like shorts and old vines and stuff with older ladies together, sisters. There's a TikTok where this guy drives his nana around, but and his nana's sister, so his great aunt, and the way that they fight. So like it reminds me of me and my sister, and we joke about that. And so hearing Tammy's sister Samantha say this, it makes me sad, because nobody expected, Tammy to die like this. And she didn't she didn't die. She didn't just pass away. It wasn't a sudden, death. It was a murder. There's a difference. She was taken from them by Chad and Alex and and Lori too, because they were all cahooters. It doesn't really, yes, obviously the person who physically did it is a different level of monster, but they're all monsters in my book. It just, yes, Claudia, it is. It's that when they swear at each other. And that is how me and my sister speak to one another. We're always joking with each other. So, yeah, it's just, it's sad. It's sad. It just breaks my heart for their whole family, All right, let's keep.
Having grown up with
Oh,
Tammy,
look, Chad's
would she go to the
moving.
doctor?
Yes, you would.
Did she have any kind of an aversion to doctors?
No,
Are you aware if she would ever use any kind of homeopathic treatments?
all of us do.
In knowing her to use those, had she ever had any kind of an adverse reaction?
No,
Judge, I'm going to object. Speculation. There hasn't been any foundation to suggest she has knowledge of every time she's used homeopathic medicine.
I'll sustain that. I think that would need to be narrowed down, Ms. Blake.
Based on your observations of Tammy using homeopathic medications, were you ever aware of her having an adverse reaction?
in my observations, I never saw her have an adverse reaction.
Would Tammy share with you some of her health issues if she had them?
Yes, she would.
Based on your observations of Tammy, did she take care of her health?
Yes, she did. was something that she was very focused on.
When Tammy came to visit in October, and that was October of 2019, is that correct?
Correct.
Was the visit planned?
It was a last minute visit. She sent me a text asking if I was going to be around that weekend.
Was there anything odd about that particular visit?
Originally, she said that Chad was going to come with her, but that he had to work.
I'm going to object. Motion to strike hearsay.
Sustained. And I'll strike that answer.
Did Tammy come down with anyone else?
No, she traveled by herself.
Was that normal for Tammy?
No, it wasn't.
And why not?
She didn't like to drive by herself the long distance. So normally someone came with her.
When Tammy would come visit, was Chad usually with her?
Yes,
Did Chad's family also still live in the Springville area?
yes, they do.
And on this visit, Chad did not come with her.
No, he did not.
Anything about her health that was the reason why she wouldn't drive long distances?
No. It was mostly for not being by herself.
When she came to visit, was there any indication that she had concerns about Chad having an affair?
No, she never gave any indication.
At some point, did you notice a change in Tammy and Chad's relationship?
It seemed strained, and I just didn't know if it was because of the event they were attending, if they were tired, but it felt off, and I didn't know why.
And do you recall approximately when that would have been?
That would have been June of 2019.
And where did you see them?
They stayed at my home.
So that was in Utah?
Yes, in Utah.
And again, Chad and your husband were friends as well.
Yes.
Was there anything about the interactions with you and your husband and Chad that seemed different?
He just seemed like he didn't want to talk and that he didn't want to be there, which was unusual for him.
And do you recall seeing Tammy again after June of 2019?
Yeah, she showed up at my house about 2 nights before my birthday. It was about 10:30 at night, which was unusual for one, because Tammy always went to bed early. And she was bringing me a present for my birthday, and it was unexpected. I had no idea they were in town.
Did that seem odd that she hadn't told you she was in town?
Yeah, it seemed odd. The time seemed odd, and Chad stayed in the van the whole time she was in my house with the car running. So it made it feel like they were pressed for time and that she couldn't stay.
Okay, now I did not have a whole lot of time before, I went live today, but I do intend to do some following up with this bit of testimony regarding the dates and what was going on around those times, because there obviously something was going on. Chad was completely, according to Samantha, which I believe her assessment, she felt he was essentially disconnected and didn't want to be there. And, especially this rushed visit, which is weird, unannounced. So I want to go back through some of the testimony and stuff and find out like what all was occurring around those dates. Because I feel like there was something, but I just, for whatever reason, my mind is blank. And so, yeah. Wasn't that around the time that Charles was murdered? I feel, all right, let me keep going and not interrupt with ridiculous questions that I should know the answer to, since I'm the one covering this.
What month was that?
July
And that was of 2019 as well?
2019 as well.
Was it weird for Chad not to come in?
Yeah, it was really weird.
Had you and Chad had any kind of a falling out?
Not that I knew of.
Had Jason and Chad had any falling out you were aware of?
Not that I knew of.
Do you recall Tammy also coming for a visit in April of 2019?
Yes, I do.
Did Chad come with her on that visit?
No, he did not.
Was it your understanding he was going to?
I think he had to work, like he was going to, but had to work and couldn't come.
Did anyone travel?
Okay. So I did go look it up, and yes. Okay. So she's, let me rewind. Let me look back. Where are we at? 2020. All right. So hold on, let me back up. Hold on.
Did Chad come with her on that visit?
No, he did not.
Was it your understanding he was going to?
I think he had to work, like he was going to, but had to work and couldn't come.
Did anyone travel down with Tammy that time?
Yes, all of her kids came and we went to the aquarium with her kids and my parents and all the current grandchildren.
In seeing Tammy in April, June, July, and October of 2019, did you observe any signs of her slowing down?
No, I did not.
Did you observe any signs of her being sick?
No, I did not.
Did she complain of any health issues?
Other than her wrist hurting, no.
Okay, so I did look it up, and also, hold on a second. Where did this comment go? What is wrong with me today? So Kathy says Charles was in July, so 7/11/19, and I feel like, so that was going on, and I also feel like there was that text exchange between Lori and Chad, where Lori's like, I'm too much and I'm just going to give up, blah, blah, blah. That one. Ooh, that's exciting. Oh, you got to take pictures and send it, Crime Crochet and Coffee, because I would love to see it. I love, love, love the retro refrigerators. I love them. They're so sharp. Okay. I don't know, Legendary. I'm having a day today too. I don't know what's wrong, what's going on with you. I can't tell from the chat, but I'm having it. I'm on the struggle bus today. I woke up at 7 o'clock, and I think by 7:05 I was already on the struggle bus. So it's going to be one of those days. So send me all those too. I want to see. I love those kind of projects. Okay. So yeah, that's what I think. I feel like that's what was going on, and that's almost like he needed an alibi. And then on top of it, I don't know, he was just clearly distracted. Okay, and also we're hearing that this story that Chad concocted with Tammy having an aversion to doctors, definitely didn't have an aversion to doctors, and that she, like most sisters, tell each other. I know my sister's health struggles, and she knows mine, because that's just how it is with, Mia, the struggle bus. That's where I'm always on that dadgum thing. I'm always on the struggle bus. I'm always struggling with one thing or another, attention, time management. And, today I was quite clumsy. I can't tell you how many times I've banged my elbow on something today in various parts of the house. No idea why. But whatever, it is what it is. And that's not part of it. So it's not part of this. But yeah, basically, Tammy was in good health, other than, she said her wrist hurt. And I was considering that, and I was thinking, well, I wonder what that could be. But usually they say that for women anyway, men will have that sharp pain running down their arm. But for women, the pain starts in the shoulder and the neck. So that's not this, the wrist was just, not related to anything coronary or cardiac, heart-wise. Here we go.
I think you previously indicated you found out about Tammy's passing from Chad. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did you ever talk to Chad about an autopsy?
Yes, I did.
What did he tell you?
I asked him in a phone call that we had after she passed away and we were making funeral arrangements. I asked him, are you going to do an autopsy? And he said, no. And I said, why not? We don't know the reason why she died. And he said that the coroner had told him that she looked
Judge,
peaceful.
I'm going to object at this point. It becomes hearsay at this point.
Sustained.
Your Honor, these are the defendant's statements.
Okay, I will revisit that ruling and overrule the objection based on that. Thank you, Ms. Blake.
You can continue. What did Chad say?
Chad said that the coroner told him that she looked peaceful and that and it looked like natural causes. So they said they weren't going to. He also stipulated that it would be a cost of $1,500 for him to do so, and it would hold things up. And they wanted to get the funeral done quickly.
Do you recall when the funeral was?
Tuesday.
Now, I think that obviously this is a big fat lie on Chad's part. Okay. And here's why. Oh, do I think that the coroner probably said some of those things? Sure. Like if the coroner determines that there's no need for an autopsy, but the family wants one anyway, yes, then it's on the family to pay for an autopsy. That is true. The rest of it, I'm not so sure about. However, I feel like if she did say anything remotely in the vicinity of what Chad said she said, it was because of the things that Chad said and also the staging of the scene. I mean, that's just facts. So I think, and I don't understand what the rush was. And, you know, I would, if it were me, I know that I would feel some type of way, just like Samantha did, okay, about being told this by your brother-in-law, and I would want to know what is the big rush? Why does this funeral need to happen, so quickly? You got a Groupon for this shit? Is there, you know what I mean? Like, he's so pressed for time, and I would want to ask the questions, but I also know myself well enough to know that I probably would not push it the way that she didn't push it, because, I wouldn't want to do that whole. Sorry, you guys. I had to, Alice got sick. Anyway, so let me just keep playing and I've got to take care of Alice. Okay, here we go.
And she passed away on a Saturday?
Correct.
Did that seem fast?
Yeah.
And where was Tammy buried?
In Springville, Utah.
Did that surprise you?
Yes, it did.
And why was that?
Because she resided in Rexburg with Chad and her children. And I asked Chad in that same phone call, why are you burying her in Springville when you all live in Rexburg? And he told me, we are covered with snow and ice for most of the year, and you will take good care of her.
Was there anything that struck you as odd about Tammy's headstone?
Yes, he requested that his name not be on it. I found that odd for somebody that was heavily into family history to not do so.
Judge, I'm going to object. This calls for here. It's a narrative, excuse me.
I can ask a question.
Go ahead.
Why was that odd to you?
Because he was heavily involved in family history, and we look for headstones to find information about our ancestors. And to leave that off would mean that someone further down the line could not connect him to her.
I thought that was highly, highly impactful as well. Like, he wanted no connection with her at all. None. And if it were me again, and it's hard, I can hear the hurt in her voice, and I can understand why she was given out the side eye. I would be too. And I think we all would. I think that's natural. I think when you have a couple that has been married as long as Chad and Tammy were, they have 5 children together and they have grandchildren together, for him to not want to have his name on the headstone is weird, number one. And I would be like, bruh, what? And then it's because it's like, I don't want any connection. And especially exactly with the genealogy and, the faith-based genealogy and Chad's personal interest in genealogy. I can't even talk genealogy. It's odd, And this is another thing too, Corky. Now, look, so yes, Tammy did have life insurance, okay? But it does take a second for life insurance to pay out, okay? But at the end of the day, I think that Tammy's family would have contributed if Chad had wanted an autopsy, for Pete's sake. He just simply didn't want one, you know? Ugh. Which, yes, like in the long run, this is, sort of a weird throwed off act of kindness. But but in the moment when this is happening, it would be suspect to me. I would be super sus. Okay, Shaggy, I've been thinking about this a lot. And I think that, for one, I think that Chad believed his own hype and that he was on some mission from God. And so all of this would be just fine, that God would intercede and keep everything, keep the law from catching up to them, and they got away with it with Charles, and I think they thought, okay, that was like their sign. Okay. If they start questioning us about Charles, then, yikes on bikes, but they didn't, and they got away with it. And I think that gave them the audacity, really, to continue with it. And then on top of it, you have what his personal belief system was, with respect to who he is in this lifetime and who he was in previous lifetimes. And basically, it boils down to, he doesn't have to be repentant for anything that he does in this lifetime, because he's already done all the repenting and the probation, and he's, an exalted being, as it were. And so it doesn't count for him. Those were Lori's words that he taught her. They came up with them together, whatever. It doesn't count. It doesn't count for me. So that is why I think that they thought they were going to get away with it. And should they be caught, which is where I think their brains are at right now, they are going to be together for an eternity. So what's 60 years? Let's say they don't let's say Chad doesn't get capital punishment. Okay. Let's say he's found guilty and he gets life without the possibility of parole, just like Lori's got. Okay. They're in their 50s. So they've got what, 30, 40 more years on this, on this earth, right? So what's 30 or 40 years compared to an eternity? It's a freaking drop in the bucket, and I think that's why they don't really care either if they get the death penalty, to be quite frank with you, because that just escalates them getting to the part where they spend their eternity together, so in their minds, I think this is like, they don't care. It's gross. All right. Let me hit push play.
Do you recall hosting a luncheon or a dinner the day before her funeral?
Yes, we were hosting a luncheon before the viewing so that we could feed them when they came down from Idaho.
And when you say feed them, who are you referring to?
Just referring to Chad and his kids.
Did they show up?
No.
Did you attend Tammy's viewing?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall speaking with Chad after the viewing or at the viewing?
Briefly.
Did he tell you anything in relation to Tammy's passing?
Yeah, he said that he had information that he wanted to tell me about Tammy's last week and how she felt like that her body was separated from herself. And he wanted to give me more information so that I would have comfort about her passing.
Did he tell you anything about having a vision that Tammy's mission was going to be complete?
Yes, he did.
Did he also indicate to you, but the vision was that she wasn't going to die?
That was what I took from the conversation.
And you said, or let me back up. Did you attend Tammy's funeral?
Yes,
Did Chad indicate anything about wanting to talk to you after the funeral?
that is what we thought was going to happen.
Did you in fact talk to Chad after the funeral?
No.
Why not?
He made himself unavailable.
At some point, did you learn Chad was remarried?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall how you learned that?
My husband, Jason, told me that he had talked to
Judge, I'm
Chad
going to
on
object
the
at this
phone.
point.
Sustained.
Move to strike.
And I will strike that response.
Do you recall reaching out to Chad about a month after Tammy's passing?
Yes,
And did Jason also reach out to Chad?
yes.
At some point, did Chad tell you his new wife's name?
Lori Ryan.
Did he indicate anything to you in relation to Lori Ryan having a previous spouse?
Yes, he said that her previous husband had died of a heart attack. And then that was why they connected. He told me that they both had lost a spouse and that was why they met up and had their marriage.
And you learned about the marriage approximately a month after your sister had passed away.
Correct.
At some point, did you learn when Chad had actually gotten married?
Yes, I did. It
And when was that?
was November 5th, 2 weeks after she was buried.
At some point, did you learn of another name associated with Lori Ryan?
I did.
And what was that name?
Vallow.
And did you learn of some other names associated with Lori Vallow?
That there were children, JJ and Tylee.
At some point, did you talk to Chad or have a conversation with him about that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Sorry, you guys. Thank you, Shauna, for becoming a member. I appreciate that very much. Welcome to the ward. Yay. Okay. Oh, Shaggy, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you for your time, wisdom, and great sense of humor. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah. See, and I think to Corky's point. So Corky wrote, Lori could have kept the peace with Charles long enough to where he kept her the beneficiary, got the money, then sent JJ back to Kay, and Tylee could have went to live with Colby and they would all still be alive. And I really agree with that. And I will say this, the reason I think that there was a point when Lori was trying to reconcile with Charles to make sure that she was on the on the life insurance. And that's why when we hear that phone call that Lori made to the life insurance company, that there is, you can hear the shock in her voice. She cannot hide it at all. And I think she thought she'd done it. And then, obviously she didn't, and she was quite angry. And it's awful. And all of this was so unnecessary. Look, just get a dadgum divorce. This is what I don't understand. If your belief system, Chad, I'm talking to you, and you too, Lori, if your belief system is such that now you guys are exalted beings and nothing that you do in this lifetime counts for you, then what's the big deal about a divorce? If nothing counts, who cares? Right? I mean, I think that in the scheme of things, if you're concerned about it, although obviously divorce is not ideal, I think that in the scale of, what's the worst sin that you can commit, which is to take another person's life, right? So in the scheme of things, I feel like divorce isn't all that big of a deal. I don't understand why you didn't just do that, because they wanted the money. I mean, it's disgusting. And I wonder, this is another thing that I wonder, and this is just a side quest of mine that will never go anywhere because I can't prove anything. But I've always wondered if Charles hadn't changed the beneficiary and Lori had gotten that life insurance, would Tammy still be alive? That's what I'm curious about. I'm very curious about that. All right. So now we're going to get into listening to her having a conversation about Lori with Chad, which this part breaks my heart too. All right, here we go.
And what did he tell you?
I asked him in a phone call, please tell me about this woman that you've replaced my sister with. And I asked him questions about her name because what we found out was different than what he told us. And he said, well, she had a complicated past and was trying to move on from it. And that's why they had told us the name that they had.
Judge, could we have some foundation as to when this phone call supposedly took place?
It took place December 13th.
And was that of 2019?
Correct.
Did you know where Chad was at that time?
I think he was in Hawaii.
At that same time, do you recall Chad telling you something about Tammy visiting him?
Yes,
What did he tell you?
because I was questioning him about this marriage. He asserted to me in this very, spiritual like tone that, Samantha, I am telling you now that when I was at the cemetery, Tammy showed herself to me and said that I should move on. And I responded with, when most women say that to their husband, it's in 2 years from now, not 2 weeks after I'm dead.
Judge argumentative.
Who's that argumentative with? Who's she arguing with? Chad said that to her. And she's repeating what her response was, which, side note, listen, Pryor, I get it that you got to do what you got to do with your, for your client here and all that. It's your job, blah, blah, blah. Let me hold on a second. Hey, Charlie, good to see you, babe. I don't know why it keeps buffering for you, but thank you for trying. I appreciate it. I look, if I were to come back and visit my husband after my death, I would probably tell him the same thing. Yes, don't mourn me forever, especially, if I died as young as Tammy was, okay, like 2 years from now. I would probably tell my husband, hey, don't mourn me forever. I'm sure my husband would be like, don't worry, we won't. No, we're having a party. I'm just kidding. He would be sad. But I would want him to move on as well. But I would not want him to move on 2 weeks later. Okay. That seems a little bit, quick. And the fact of the matter is, and we talked about this last night, that not only is it quick, but it, even if you don't, even in that moment, which, her sister did, and her brother, and well, her sister and her husband, and her sister's husband, I should say, they didn't have the information that even Kay had, where Kay had seen the searches and the purchase of the rings. She didn't even have that knowledge. So if, just looking at it through Samantha's eyes, and, it takes a minute. First of all, it takes a minute to even go and get a marriage license, which I think was part of the reason for the rush, because they would need to, for the death certificate to be issued so that Chad could prove that he was a widower and they were not committing bigamy, which is illegal in the United States. All of the United States is, every state, it's illegal, so that, they wouldn't be committing bigamy and that their marriage would be legally recognized. That's why it was a push. But that means they had to plan it. And then on top of it, Lori was already searching for wedding attire to wear on the beach. She had already purchased their rings. Plus, on top of it, you have to purchase airfare and book a hotel and all that kind of stuff, So I think it's ridiculous. Charlie, maybe, babe, try, see if your YouTube needs to be updated, and or just like completely close YouTube, and then how it can be running in the background. Make sure it's not running in the background and completely restart it. Thank you, MJ. I appreciate it. Good to see you, babe. I can't tell if I like it or not. I haven't figured out if I like it. I feel like it needs something else because it's so black and white with just color for the lips. I feel like it needs something, or I want to maybe I want to change the color of the lips, make them redder or something. I don't know. I'll fix it later, but not right now. But that's how I feel. Like some of this stuff just absolutely, I would be side-eyeing the hell out of Chad. Absolutely, as a family member. Yes. All right, let's keep going. And Ash, I hope you feel better, babe. I'm sorry that you're sick.
Did you ask Chad about whether or not Lori had any minor children?
Thank
did.
you,
What did he end up
MJ.
telling you?
Hang
He
on.
told me that she had some adopted.
Thank you so much, babe. I appreciate that. It was very generous of you. You don't have to do that, babe. I appreciate it. And that you like the simplicity. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, here we go. Let me not interrupt anymore. We'll never get through this. Here we go.
Children, foster children, and older children. And I asked him, so when Mark comes home from his mission, will you be raising kids together? Because I was trying to figure out what adopted or foster children meant. And he said, no, we will be empty nesters. So I took that to mean that there were no young children.
I have no further questions.
All right, thank you. Given the time, council, I think it's appropriate we take our lunch break before we begin with cross. So we'll go ahead and take the lunch recess at this time. We'll come back on at 1 o'clock for continued testimony with cross-examination.
All right, please.
Special shout out to East Idaho News. We don't need to do any of that. They're going to go ahead and pick us right up where they left off. If you are not subscribed to East Idaho News, please do it. Nate Eaton is covering this trial. He has covered both trials. He's done a fantastic job, and he gives recaps. And what I particularly appreciate about Nate Eaton's recaps is that he will connect all of the dots. He does a fantastic job. I cannot speak highly enough of Nate. He's so fantastic. I just adore him as a person. Okay. And as, you know, a YouTube channel. Oh, Melissa, thank you. Yes. And I will be doing that next. Absolutely. I will cover that trial. It is a very, very sad case, but I definitely want to cover it. And I want to say thank you to Charlie for becoming a YouTube member. And while we wait for cross-examination to begin, let's have a little palate cleanser really quick and watch the member video. Here we go.
Gossip, blah, blah.
No malicious intent or effort was towards it. No malicious.
We all do a little mad sometimes.
All right. And MJ, you have, babe, God love you. Thank you so much. Melissa says, you don't have to do that. I will highlight your comments anyway, but I appreciate it. I remember when Nate found them in Hawaii. Hashtag OG. Yes. Yes. And he was like, you know, the way he did it, I loved how he like was walking after them, but he was and he wanted the answers, but the way that he did it in a classy manner. And he says, and I'll just never forget this, "Where's your children, Lori?" So yeah, it was like, whoo, hey, Music City Mom. Good to see you, babe. But yeah. All right. Now let's get on with Pryor's cross-examination. It's not very long. It's only like 20 minutes. So here we go. A little over 20 minutes. Let me just skip forward a scotch.
On the record on CR cross. And I will remind the witness, Ms. Williams, you're still under oath for your testimony.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon. Ms. Williams, do you have a recollection of how many times you've been interviewed as part of this investigation?
I don't know the exact amount. I've never counted.
Okay. Is it more than 5?
Probably just sometimes it's just phone calls or a text asking questions.
And
I
what
don't know if that counts. Sorry, I just didn't know if that counts.
What I would like to count are actually in-person interviews is what I would like to refer to.
Um, a handful. I don't know like the exact amount, but with trial prep. Um,
Excluding the trial prep today, because I assume you spoke with the prosecuting attorneys
Yes.
before you testified today. And isn't it true? You probably spoke to them over the lunch hour as well shortly.
no, I tried to keep myself apart from everybody at lunch because I'm still under oath. So
Okay, all right. Uh, And the locations of those interviews varied. Is that true?
yes,
On one occasion, on June 4th of 2020, one of those interviews was in your home. Is that right?
correct.
And present at one of those interviews was, do you recall which officer of agency?
I honestly, since we've dealt with so many of them, I don't recollect which agency came, if it was Fremont or Madison, or I'm not exactly sure who belongs to which department at this point. I'll be frank.
Okay. And then generally during those interviews, was your husband present?
Yes,
And generally during those interviews, other than your husband, would it involve maybe one or two or three other people interviewing you?
occasionally, yes.
Okay. And on June 4th of 2020, you had an occasion to be interviewed by a number of officers, and you don't specifically recall which ones, though. Is that right?
I want to say, I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember who it was that I talked to.
You remember the name Officer Hermosillo?
Yes.
Okay. I think we've all said this 11 billion times. I know I for sure have said it 11 billion times. I really don't understand the purpose of this line of questioning. I do not understand what Pryor wants to elicit out of the witness, because he's done this with multiple witnesses. The only thing that I can think of is that it will hopefully make sense when he starts putting his case on, because I cannot figure out what the purpose and intent behind asking, every single time he takes attendance. Every time he talks about, who was in the room when you were, how many times you were interviewed, who was there when you were interviewed, listen, this is first of all, and I understand, I don't know why he's doing it, but I understand why the witnesses that he's asked this question don't remember, because many of them are family to Tammy. And can you imagine you're dealing with the fact that your sister dies suddenly, or your daughter, right? Because her parents. Then you find out 2 weeks after your loved one passes away, right? That your former brother-in-law, son-in-law, in-law gets remarried. 2 weeks. Then you find out that this isn't just like she has, like Chad put it, as if she, has, she has a complicated life, her past, her past relationship, whatever, however you put it, that she has a complicated past and that she was trying to get away, come back from it and be on the straight and narrow, or whatever the hell it was he said. It doesn't matter. But then you find out that not only is she not an empty nester, but that she does have children and they're missing. And then fast forward and you find out that their bodies are on your former in-law's property. Then they exhume your loved one and you find out it wasn't natural causes. It wasn't an accident. He freaking murdered her. So I don't think that these people would be taking attendance every time they were questioned by the cops. I think it's ridiculous. And I don't understand what the purpose of this line of questioning is, Pryor. And I'm going to be very, very disappointed and give you a, frankly, not a good Google review if you don't somehow, I don't even care if it makes sense. I probably won't believe it anyway. But if you don't tie this in some way, shape, or form to when it's your turn to present evidence, I'm going to give you a worse Google review, like negative review, negative 10 stars. Do not recommend.
Officer Ball,
Yes.
does that refresh your
Yeah, that sounds about right.
does that refresh your recollection of who
Yes.
interviewed you?
And I think maybe Bruce Mattingly was there.
And then is it possible as well that Mr. Wood was there for that interview
Yes,
as
he
well?
was in my front room.
Okay, so when he was
Hold
in,
on a sec. Ms. Williams,
Yes.
please wait till the question's done before you answer.
I can do that.
Excuse me. We need to talk only one at a time for the record, so please try to do that. Thank you.
Okay.
and once again, Judge, I did it as well, so I think I was baiting her on in some way. So, and during that interview with Officer Hermosillo and Prosecutor Wood was there as well, correct?
Correct.
And at the time, there were just a handful of you there, correct? 3 or 4 of you?
I believe so.
Okay. And your husband was there as well, correct?
Correct.
Did he actually sit there with you during the interview?
Yes, he did.
So he would have been able to identify everybody who was there during that interview. Is that correct?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Were the people who were there for that interview, as far as from your perception, all in plain sight of the other folks who were there for the interview?
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
Okay, this line of questioning makes zero sense. The only thing that I can think of is that maybe there's going to come in at some point when it's Pryor's turn that there's a conflict in reports that one op between agencies that has somebody that says somebody was there and then the person who they say was there was not there, which I don't even know how that makes a huge difference. I don't feel like that this investigation was tainted in that way, that I don't think anybody conspired to, come after Chad for no reason, that this is some conspiracy to frame him, that Chad is just the unfortunate, he's the most unlucky and unfortunate person in all time, that he got with this chick who he thought was super hot and super fun, and she turned out to be a murderer, and
Ms.
she did
Pryor,
all
you
the
can continue
murdering
if you'd like
and
the court
burying
reporter to
of
read
the
back that
bodies on
previous
his
question you
property.
made.
No, Judge, I'm going to move forward at this point.
I don't get
And
it.
again, Ms. William, there was another meeting in December of, I believe, 2020 as well. Do you recall that
Yes.
with law enforcement?
Yes.
Was that at a different location?
Yes.
And again, do you recall who was present for that meeting?
I stood outside of the room, and I was not present inside of what took place.
Okay. Now, you spoke briefly about the animals that were in the pet cemetery.
The ones that I knew of, yes.
Okay, and then you're anticipating my question. You don't know all of the animals that were put in the pet cemetery, correct?
No, I do not.
Okay. And you testified earlier that it was Tammy who had one of these pet cemeteries at her home in Springville,
Yes,
and that was her habit to do that when animals would pass.
it's our family's habit.
Oh, it's your family's habit.
Yeah, we do. Our whole time growing up, we would have a cemetery for our
Okay.
pets.
And she continued that tradition.
Correct.
And she would have been the one who would have tendered that pet cemetery, cared for it, prepared it, all of such, correct?
On some occasions, I do remember one occasion in Springville where Chad helped us bury some pets too.
Okay. But primarily in Springville, it was Tammy's responsibility for care for the pet cemetery. Would that be fair?
I can't testify that was just her. I don't know if her children helped either.
Okay. And you don't know who tendered or cared for the pet cemetery in their home in Rexburg area, correct?
No, I just know that they all lived there and they all had different pets that got buried there. So
I mean, again, what is the point of this line of questioning? Seriously, what is the point of this questioning? It is a private pet cemetery, okay? This isn't like a pet cemetery that's open to the public where people come and, their pets are laid to rest, and then there's some, a service or something, and somebody's in charge of maintaining the grounds. I just do not, I don't understand the point of this at all, and he gets nowhere with these questions. So it just feels like, I don't know. There could have been time spent on other more important questions. For example, he objected to the testimony about the doctor and about the medications, right? So it would be within the scope of cross for him to ask questions about, for example, how often did you and your sister speak about your health issues? How often did she tell you? What did she, those kinds of things. That would have been something, to ask her about. And exactly, Corky, what is he trying to say? That because, that Tammy did this shit? I mean, come on, Pryor. How could, first of all, you have a text message from your client to Tammy saying that he buried a raccoon in the pet cemetery. So clearly it's not Tammy's sole responsibility to maintain and the pet cemetery. Like, what are you doing? You better tie this in some kind of way. I don't even care if it's, I just want to see how you're going to do it. Like I said before, I'm not going to believe any. I'll try to be open-minded, but I'm not going to lie. My mind is probably 32% open to his defense. Okay. I'm just being honest.
You can make your own assumptions.
I don't want to make any assumptions. I just wanted to hear what you had to say.
Yeah,
about that.
I would be making assumptions as well.
Okay. And you'd be making assumptions about what kind of animals and when the animals would be put in there. Is that correct?
No, on the three that I talked about, Tammy told me about them.
Okay. I'm talking about other animals or other occasions.
Yeah, I
correct?
don't know about
Okay.
them.
Now, you mentioned that Tammy was quite proficient with computers.
Correct.
Were you aware that she would have been the primary manager of the publishing company?
Yeah, for the most part, from what I knew, she was
She did most of the,
the book work.
right. Chad wrote the books and Tammy did everything else.
From my understanding, yes.
The name Steve Schultz came up.
Correct.
And that's someone that is that a family friend or is that someone you just know?
As a family friend.
Now, you mentioned that Tammy would go to the doctor if there was a medical issue that she needed to address. Would that be
Correct.
fair?
Yeah.
And that was something that she would do without hesitation?
For the most part, yes.
Okay. Now, you know her children, correct?
Yes, I do.
And can you give me their names?
Yeah, we have Garth, Emma, Seth, Leah, and Mark.
Okay. And Tammy did a wonderful job raising 5 wonderful children.
She was a wonderful mother.
And she did it. And if I could just finish my question.
Sorry.
That's okay. And did a wonderful job of raising these children. Is that correct?
Yes, she was a wonderful mother.
And these children are all deeply involved in their faith within the LDS Church, really as a result of a lot of Tammy's instruction. Would you agree with that?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation as well as relevance.
Sustained.
Judge, it's sustained on speculation or relevance?
Relevance.
Okay. Are you aware if the children are still practicing members of the LDS faith?
I believe they are, but I have not had contact with some of them.
Now, see, to me, this is really sad that she doesn't have contact with some of the kids anymore. I think I can't imagine if I didn't have a relationship with my nephews. I would be devastated. I helped raise those little heathens. So I would be really upset. My sister and I are close, and she's close to my children, and I'm close to her children. And it would be devastating if I didn't have a relationship. And I find that to be, aside from the actual murders, I find that to be the second saddest thing about all of this, is that, the destruction of a family. It's awful. And I want to say also, thank you, Mindy Carr, for becoming a YouTube member. I appreciate that so very much. Welcome to the ward. Oh my gosh, Max, stop it. Here we go.
And specifically, you did mention that you talked about Tammy and you discussed the idea that you folks kept track of what medications each of you were on, from what I understood. What medications was Tammy on?
She took something for her wrist, and she was taking something for her depression.
That would be the only medication to your knowledge,
That's the only two that she told me about.
other than the homeopathic stuff that she would engage in occasionally, correct?
Yep, correct.
And that included essential oils?
I don't know. I never saw her use them, so I don't know what she used.
Okay. And you mentioned that Tammy went to bed early. What does that mean?
It was her habit from a young age that she was always the first one that would go to sleep.
You don't know specifically what time, just very early?
It would depend on the day, but 9 o'clock was always late, considered late for her.
And you did mention that she drove out to see you on, I think you mentioned like 3 occasions, or was it more than that?
Which year?
The 2019 July.
Yes.
And
4 if you count April.
And the vehicle that she would drive is what?
I don't recall what car she drove.
Did she stay at your house?
Yes, she did for a couple of the occasions.
Okay, also, I have to highlight this because I think this is spot on. Wendy says, Chad may have practiced parental alienation, meaning he turned the kids against Tammy. Could have extended to turning them against Samantha as well. And I think that is a very astute observation. And I agree with that. It's probably exactly what happened, honestly. And then Caroline writes, Jen Liu, in my opinion, John Pryor seriously tries to put reasonable doubt into the jurors' heads with every single witness. It's very sad. Chad blames everyone except himself, sitting there all smug. And I also agree with that. I do think it's not necessary to try to create reasonable doubt with every single witness because, quite frankly, it comes off as obnoxious and argumentative. And I know that I am not the only person that has that opinion, because that the judge also shares that opinion, because every time the prosecution, for the most part, 9 times out of 10, when they object and call it argumentative, Judge Boyce agrees and sustains the objection. So, I mean, maybe try to get that under control there, Mr. Pryor. It's not good.
Okay, and Judge, could I have something, the use of the Elmo? And I would like the bailiff to bring me 23A, 23F, it looks like.
Okay, we'll have those exhibits brought over, 23A and F.
For permission to publish those on Elmo.
Yeah, they're admitted and they may be published.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a laser of some kind up there that you can see.
Do we have a pointer?
Is this,
Oh, okay, thank you.
You know how to use that? Because I don't.
it's on.
Pryor, how do you not know how to use a laser pointer? Meanwhile, all I could think of when he said, is there a laser or something up there, was that part in in Austin Powers where she yells, send in the lasers. That's all I could think of. Oh, thank you, Bonnie Scotland. I appreciate that very much. Glad you're here. All right, here we go. Let's see how this goes. We're almost through it.
It's that. It's working.
Okay, so I'm looking at a tree. Do you see that tree right in the forefront?
This one right here?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it looks like, and I don't want to describe it, but there's a dark area that to the
Okay, Chad or Pryor, I'd like to take an opportunity. Clearly, you didn't take any art in school. So I'm going to show the class. This would be the foreground. This would be the middle ground. And this back here, the sky and these little tiny trees would be the background. So it's not in the foreground, it's in the middle. But please continue.
left of it. Do you see that?
This is the fire pit. Right here.
Okay, but before that, where the tree is, there's like a dark, it looks like, is that a shadow or is that part of the pet cemetery?
No, that's a shadow.
And that's a shadow coming, from what you can tell, that's a shadow that's coming off of the tree?
Yes,
Okay, so if you have the pointer, point to where the pet cemetery is.
right here in the center. You can see the little dog statue right there.
Okay, and then which side of it is on of those posts?
It's on the left side.
So put the red mark where that would be.
I just had it on there. That's it right there.
Okay, thank you. And then in regards to the house, where would the house be? On which side?
The house is off to the left. So there's the red barn and then the home would have been over here.
Okay. And then as part of the house, there's the traditional part of the house, and then there's a garage, and there is a structure attached to the
Yeah,
garage.
they called it the cozy cone.
And that wasn't really the original part of the house, correct?
The previous owner had added it onto the house and there's stairs that go up to a room where they had musical instruments and Mark would sleep there.
Occasionally?
Yeah.
And that's to access, what did you call it? The cozy what?
They called it the cozy cone.
Because was that because of the nature?
It
of
was
the-
because of the pitched roof.
Okay. Okay, and I'm going to try to slow down so we don't interrupt each
Yeah,
other.
sorry.
That's okay. And that cozy cone, you access, and you've been inside the house, is that right?
Yes, I have.
And that cozy cone is accessed by going out into the garage And then to the back.
Objection, Your Honor, counsel's testifying. I move to strike.
Sustain.
Do you know how you would access,
Hold on, Mr. Pryor. Sustain, that question is stricken, jurors to disregard. Thank you.
and do you know how you would access the cozy cone from the garage?
There's a hallway and a staircase that goes up. It's just through a doorway from the house. So it was like a hallway.
Okay, and that's what your recollection is?
Yes,
Okay. Okay. And your recollection is it's a hallway that goes through the house, not through the garage?
it's part of the garage is, there's a door from the kitchen and you would just take a step down through the garage and it was a hallway. It was connected.
Okay.
Hi,
And this
legendary.
hallway you're
Oh,
speaking of is in the
he's back.
garage?
welcome back.
No, the hallway's not part of the garage. It was part of the annex for this attached structure.
Okay. And is this attached structure attached to the back of the garage?
Yes, and to the home. They're all connected
Okay.
to
all
one
right.
another.
And Judge 23,
All right, 23F's being published now.
now again, if you could take the red pointer and show me exactly again where the pet cemetery is,
Well, you could see the dog statue right here.
right?
And they'd put the fence post. Tammy had originally been trying to grow raspberries here. And they weren't taking the way she had wanted to. And since the soil was tilled, it was easier to bury pets.
Okay. And that was, you anticipated my question, and that was originally a,
Raspberry patch.
I'll try, Judge. I'll try. Okay. And at that point, then, since the raspberries weren't taking, now that's that area that we're talking about. And Judge, if we could switch back to the other exhibit, if I may.
23A?
That's correct.
Yeah, you can publish 23A again.
Thank you, Your Honor. And again, I see another tree in the very far back. Is that right?
Yes,
And there's an irrigation pond back there.
correct.
And by this picture, it looks like it's a significant distance. Is it a significant distance?
Not that significant. That
Okay.
they're all on the same property.
Okay. And are these trees and this pet cemetery are in the field in the back of the Daybell property? Would that be fair?
Yes,
Okay. Okay. And I'm seeing on the very far back beyond the tree, there's some houses back there. Is that right? You see those?
yeah.
Is that a road back there that eventually goes in front of the Daybell property?
There is a cross street that goes through most of that county.
Okay. And that's what that road is, correct?
Yes, it leads by the front of their home.
Okay.
Again, Pryor, what is the point of asking this? Hold on a second. I'm going to call. Again, Mr. Pryor, what is the point of asking this witness about that? She's testifying to what her sister and her and Chad, what their relationship was like, and what he was like, and the things that he said and did after Tammy's death, right? That's the purpose of this witness. I don't understand why you're questioning her as if she is a city planner and in charge of maintaining the records for blueprints and where the roads all go and where the roads all lead and how they connect. I don't understand the point of this questioning from this witness. It makes zero sense. Oh, Tess Mack. Been listening while I drive and pick up Tarjay. Thank you, Jen Lou. Hey, everyone. Hey, Tess. I love Target. All right, here we go. I just don't get this testimony. I don't get this questioning. It's ridiculous. Big fat waste of time.
And Judge, if I could just have a moment, please.
Yes.
Oh my God. Please take a moment to think about what you're doing and which witness is on the stand and the best use of your question asking time. Please. Could ya?
That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Wow.
All right.
All right. So there's a little bit, I guess, of
Ms. Blake, does the state wish
redirect.
to redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
You were asked some questions about Chad and Tammy's kids, and I think you responded you really haven't been in contact with them.
Correct.
Why is that?
Because of the investigation that precipitated with the missing children, we got blamed for being a part of it. Chad,
There's no foundation to establish when we say we got blamed.
That's sustained.
Prior to Tammy's passing, did you have contact with Chad and Tammy's kids?
yes, I did.
Is it fair to say at least some of them were close with your family?
Yes, we raised our children together and we did a lot together.
Subsequent to the investigation, did that contact change?
Yes,
Have you attempted to have contact with the children?
we have.
Also, let me just let the record reflect that, Mr. Pryor, I understand that you have an incredibly daunting task ahead of you. First of all, the case in and of itself, the amount of evidence that's against your client is very daunting. It's also very overwhelming. It is a death penalty case, and you're doing it solo. You don't have any help. I get it. But if I were you, when I'm sitting there listening to the redirect, I would be taking notes from Miss Blake on how you come back from a sustained objection. Okay? You don't ask the question again in the exact same way that got the question objected to and sustained like that. That's been your MO. You got to change direction, okay? Lord. And these two lunatics, I don't know if y'all can hear the cats in the background, but they're chasing each other around the bedroom playing, because this is what we do when mom is streaming. Now, if I'm not streaming, they're perfectly quiet in here. Lunatics. Here we go.
You were asked about the pet cemetery and whether or not you knew every pet buried in it. Do you recall that question?
Yes, I do.
And you indicated you knew of some pets that were buried around there.
Yes.
At some point, did you learn of something or someone else that was buried in Chad's backyard?
Yes.
And what was that?
2 children.
I have no further questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Blake. That'll conclude the testimony then of Ms. William. Feel free to take a moment if you need before you go ahead and step down. She's not subject to the exclusionary order, so I don't know if she's under subpoena or either side wishes to address whether or not a subpoena is in effect.
She is not under subpoena from the state, Your Honor. If she had been, we would release her at this point, but she is not subject to the exclusionary rule.
And Judge, she's not under subpoena from the defense, so there won't be any recall.
All right, thank you.
All right. So, hey, Kelly, sorry I missed you. Oh, I'm glad I could crack you up. It's just so annoying to me. Today's testimony, Wolfie, and hi, by the way, babe, was Tammy Daybell's sister, Samantha. And I just feel like Pryor does not make good use of his time in the questioning arena. Like, he just doesn't do it. Hey, sweet Melissa, good to see you. Happy Mother's Day to you too. Yes, it was amazing. And look, I think that the judge only admonished her for the talking over, because it does make it difficult for the court reporter. And but you could I think a lot of the quick way that she was answering is that she didn't particularly want to speak to Pryor, because I forgot to point this out, that whenever it was Pryor's turn to question, cross-examine, he greeted her and he said, "Good afternoon." And she gave him nothing, nada, zero. Didn't even acknowledge that he said anything. So I think it's clearly they have, and I don't blame her. I can see why she would feel some type of way and be hostile a little. I would, I know that on some level, like, she rationally recognizes that it's Pryor, that Pryor was hired and paid to do a job. And I think that I think it's also difficult for her to sit in that courtroom in close proximity to Chad. It would be for anybody. It's totally natural. I don't blame her at all. And I think she did a fantastic, phenomenal job testifying for her sister. I think that the direct examination was excellent. I think that Ms. Blake did a fantastic job eliciting the eliciting testimony from Samantha that would be the most impactful to the jury. I thought she did a fantastic job. Oh, yes, Shauna, I will be happy to. Wolfie from Starbucks. Let me think. I think I'd like a green tea, like an iced green tea, maybe with like, I don't know, some lemon. I do love a green tea, especially iced green tea. Thank you, Sweet Pea. You're so very kind. Although I shouldn't be having that. But anyway, that's not the point. I appreciate you offering to get a drink from Starbucks. And tell me what you're getting too. Yeah, that's it. Listen, MJ's Wolfie. I'm not going to Wolfie. Let me just say this. Remember how I was talking to you guys like a few days ago about like cause and effect and consequences of people's choices? So, okay, I made a choice during the winter that I was going to overindulge in snacks. The consequences of that behavior is that now I have some extra trouble and my shorts are a little snug in the waist and they are not as comfortable. There's also a little bubble over, which I cannot stand. So now I have made the choice to drink a ton of water and work out. And the only way for me to lose weight is for me to spend more calories than I take in. And so that includes not having delicious snacks from Starbucks or Pepsi, which I also love, or sweet tea, which I also love. Because I made poor decisions and this has led to some negative consequences. All right, you guys. Well, that's really all I had for this stream. I'm trying to figure, I need to get with Allie to see if she wants to do more video visits. Like it's Mother's Day weekend and she's got young kids that are still at home. Plus, her mom is still with her on this earth. And so, that she might have family stuff planned and I don't want to put any pressure on her at all. So I'll just reach out and figure out what we're going to do. And just if you are a member of my Patreon, if I don't go live in Patreon tonight, then I will make it up to you guys and do it one night this week at around 7 p.m. Eastern time. But I want to thank you guys all very, very much for being here this afternoon. I appreciate it so much. Your support means so much to me, and I'm just really grateful and appreciative of it. If you have not done so, please give your girl a thumbs up on the video, on the live. It helps the algorithm. It's all about the algorithm. And I hope you guys all have a fantastic rest of your weekend and a happy, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, all the mothers of children, all the mothers of fur babies, birds, all the things, all the mamas everywhere. All right, you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.